early retirement is not for everyone. To me, early retirement was a no-brainer. Who wouldn't want to give up work if they had half the chance? Who hasn't been sitting in the workplace having that one day, I'll hand in my notice, I'll say goodbye to the 9 to 5 and step into the glorious sun-drenched landscape of retirement. You know, more time for travel, for hobbies, well, for everything, you know, all those things we promised ourselves we'd do, you know. Surely everyone thinks like that, yeah? That's what I thought. But no, and certainly this is what's backed up in some of the comments I get on YouTube. You know, early retirement isn't for everyone. I'm not just talking financially, I'm just talking psychologically. There's the, oh, I don't know what I'd do all the time if I was retired, people. And others who are saying, Clive, I think you should stay at work a bit longer and build a legacy for your children. Don't worry, my children are all right. And then there's, well, research has shown that those who retire early die early type comments as well. So it got me thinking, what is the psychology of early retirement? Who's it for? And is it for you? What is clear is that early retirement can be a double-edged sword. So I thought I'd delve more into the myths and psychology of early retirement, as I said, and research how it kind of means different things to different people. I was reading a fascinating report, really, well, it's partly the research I put together, about the psychological side of early retirement. I mean, we spend decades planning things on the financial side, don't we? But, you know, as I've said before in these videos, what about the mentality? Who's it for? I mean, what happens after that champagne has been popped and the retirement cake has been served up? I mean, is early retirement right for you? And more importantly, if you don't have a choice about it, or you're thinking about it, how can you make early retirement the adventure that you always dreamed it would be, you know? When it comes to early retirement, there's a kind of dream versus reality. The dream for me was really seductive. You know, once it became apparent I could do it. I mean, think about it. No more alarm clocks, no more pointless meetings. Oh my God, those afternoon meetings. No more dealing with Colin from accounts or that difficult client, you know who you are, or that work colleague in those late afternoon meetings, just as a meeting is about to be adjourned, suddenly pops up, oh yes, another thing, and yet they've got nothing to contribute to the meeting. They just want to be seen to be heard because they have some sort of workplace insecurity. And we're all looking at our watch going, we just want the meeting to end. Just shut up. It's home time. Anyway, I digress. I've lived the dream, okay? I've made the step into early retirement. Anybody who's watched my channel is fully aware of that. And if you're one of the 82% of people who watch my channel on a regular basis but haven't yet subscribed, now's your chance. Hit that subscribe button, toggle that notification bell, and that way you'll know when I upload videos just like this. Anyway, the point is, I lived the dream, and yeah, the freedom it brought was immense. Well, that's what it felt like for me anyway. But when I started researching this a bit more, and the more I read about it, and a lot of stories I've heard from people and I've seen on YouTube and I've read, there's many who paint a very different picture of early retirement. And, you know, it's not all sunshine and golf courses for some. For many, the reality can be a bit of a shock. I've discussed loads of times on this channel before. Suddenly, that structured routine that you've had for 30, 40 years comes to an end. Poof! Yeah, everyone you knew at work, gone. All of that. Loss of identity. I've talked about it a lot on this channel. We don't like to admit it, but a lot of our identity in life is tied up with the job that we did, the living that we made. The decision to retire is a complex calculus, and ultimately early retirement can come in various ways. It's not always the same, and the way that it does arrive finally can have a big psychological impact on how you deal with it. You've got your voluntary versus your involuntary retirement. I must not do these walk and talks up a hill. The single most important factor in a retiree's initial well-being is whether the choice was theirs. Voluntary retirement, you know, making that choice yourself, having that focus to get to a point and target early retirement is linked to better mental health. But being kicked out because you've been made redundant and no prospect of any other jobs or whatever because you feel like you're getting it on a bit, that kind of retirement is less healthy for your mental health. Ultimately, retirement decisions are driven by factors that push people away from work and pull them towards a new life. So you've got your push factors, right? So these are things that push you away from work. Yeah, high work stress or burnout, physically demanding job, you're worn out, or poor personal health, or perceived ageism in the workplace. These are all the pushing factors that sort of push you into retirement, whether you want it or not. But then there's the pull factors, yeah? Pulling you towards early retirement. Desire for more leisure time, why not? Spending more time with the family. Pursuing hobbies, wanting to pursue hobbies and passions and maybe travel a bit and things like that. It begs the question, who thrives in early retirement? What type of person? As I said, it's not just about having the financial ducks in a row and all of that. It's about being psychologically prepared for it. You either know it's coming, or if it's suddenly thrust upon you, you're kind of prepared for it. The people who have a successful, happy retirement are the ones who've done some serious introspection. They haven't just retired from something, they've retired to something. They've had a dream or a vision they want to kind of go and do. I mean, in my case, let's go over this thing here. For me, it was the opportunity to kind of basically do it now, take a risk, or wait and not be in a position to retire for another 10 years. Take the risk, I would land on my feet and enjoy the most of my go-go years, my freedom and being hopefully my health and young enough to enjoy that retirement, or wait another 10 years and hope that I'm still just as healthy. Think about it, we're living longer. So if you do retire early, you could be in a position where your life in retirement is longer than your life in work. Imagine that. So you work for 30 years. Yeah, so you started working at 25 after uni or whatever, decide you want to retire at 55. You could easily live to 85. That's 30 years. 30 years work, 30 years not working. One of the key things for early retirement is it's definitely for the sort of person who is excited about the future, that's excited about that prospect and the freedom and opportunity it has to live their life out doing what they want to do, rather than just someone who is relieved to escape the past of a stressful job. It's definitely for a person who has a sense of curiosity and understands that they're more than just the identity that their job says they are. As I said, depending on how you arrive and end up in early retirement has a massive impact on how it plays out. The double-edged sword comes in. On one hand, there are risks, and on the other hand, there's opportunities. A 2017 study found that after retiring, verbal memory declined significantly faster than before, basically highlighting the cognitive effect of work-based mental stimulation. At least at your work, you're kind of mentally stimulated doing spreadsheets or whatever it is. There's also, some research has shown, there's 40% higher risk of heart attack or stroke. The stress of transition can be so significant that retirees face this increased risk, especially within the first year. But again, I think some of that is driven because they're retiring because of ill health and therefore more prone to suffering from a heart attack. It's all a bit gloomy, Clive. I hear you. Let's look on the flip side of this coin then, yeah? The opportunities. The liberation effect that exists, a renewed purpose. For those in a dissatisfying job or a dead-end job or a job that they've just lost interest in, there's a significant increase in a sense of purpose. And for them, early retirement is a chance to build a life more aligned with their sort of personal values and dreams, plus improved health, despite what I said about heart attacks. There is research that says living a high-stress job or physically draining job and then leaving that is linked, obviously, to a better mental and physical health. There's reduced anxiety, maybe better sleep because you're not having to get up, or you're not thinking about work all the time before you go to bed that can't make you sleep, or there's a problem at work. Yeah? So again, this is all really good and positive to your mental and physical health. Plus you've got more time to exercise, go for walks like I am in these places like this. I watch other YouTubers talking about retirement life and retiring abroad and stuff like that. And I saw a couple who retired together early, and the guy there was talking about how he had a stressful job, but he didn't realise how stressed he was until he retired, because he'd just become acclimatised to it. And he kind of makes that quote about the concept of the frog in water that's slowly being boiled, and then the frog boils to death. And the reason the frog doesn't jump out of the water, as it slowly heats up and slowly boils, is because they just get used to it. And it's a sort of metaphor for how we just become acclimatised, and what we do or the stress in our job or our life, it just normalises, and we don't even realise it until something comes along and stops it. So the question is, are you a frog in a pot? As I said, the key thing is the retirement and the risks I talked about and stuff. And as with anything in life, being aware of the risks of something you're about to embark on is half the battle. Being prepared, yeah? You don't just ski down a mountain without doing your prep, or go for a long hike or anything. Preparation is key. Being aware of the risks to try and mitigate those risks. So if you are aware of some of the risks associated with early retirement, whether you've chosen early retirement or whether it's been sort of foisted upon you because of circumstances, it's really important that you're aware of the risks of the double-sided nature of early retirement. If you can eliminate the risks and nip them in the bud ASAP, then all the better. Retirement is a journey with different phases, and you're going to go through those different phases. So you kind of need to be prepared. I live in the UK, and as we say, you never leave home without a brolly. Yeah, prepared. Although I don't have a brolly today, and it is looking a bit grey. Cows are looking at me. Anyway, the emotional journey of a new retiree. Oh no, they're coming to me now. Time to walk away. Yeah, we've got the cow problem, people. I'm being chased by cows again. There's a 3-phase pattern to retirement, okay? Talked about it before. You've got the honeymoon phase, checks cows. The honeymoon phase with a sense of euphoria and relief, life satisfaction spikes as the burden of work is lifted and stuff like that. You think, woohoo, freedom. Moving then to sort of the sadness, the disenchantment, as the novelty wears off, or boredom, loneliness, or a sense of uselessness, sort of starts kicking in. And this can emerge as structure of your work structure disappears. Maybe you retired, taking a long holiday, and now you come back. And it's like, oh, now what? And then the third stage, they're still following me, reorientation, the critical turning point. Actively building a new, stable, meaningful life structure, and that will determine your long-term well-being. Yeah, it's sort of finding the balance, finding who you are and what your structure in life should now be once you've been through those initial 2 stages. Are they still following me? I didn't intend to walk this fast, but then I didn't intend to get chased by cows. Let's get practical about this though, yeah? Let's say you are considering early retirement. Maybe it's about to be thrust upon you and you don't have much choice about it. It can happen via redundancy, and as I said, lack of job prospects after that redundancy, or ill health. Or maybe you're already there. Yeah, you've already started and you're just feeling a bit adrift. Don't worry, I get it. That's what we're here for. That's what this channel's all about. Let's talk about the toolkit that you can use to help navigate this process. I think the cows have given up. They've just gone to the tree. So let's examine some key psychological strategies, which I've broken down into sort of 4 key parts. And I've talked about these strategies before on the channel, and I know they keep coming up now and then, but I just think it's important to reiterate them. Plus, it's me coming across these concepts again and again, which kind of makes me feel that they're somehow really important and thus worth reiterating. First is find your why. Your why used to be your career for whatever reason it was. You chose that career, you didn't choose the career, but you fell into it and you wanted to do a good job, or you're doing it just to pay the bills and all of that, okay? But it's all part of your why. Now that's gone. So the key thing here is whether you chose your career or not, what you have now is a choice that you can make. This is your time to explore things you've always been passionate about, maybe learning languages, traveling, as I said, the dream of going to live abroad, which I've talked about in other videos. I don't know, volunteering for something, you know, joining a cause that you believe in. You've got the time to do it now. It doesn't have to be a world-changing thing. It's whatever it is, you know, it's what gets you out of bed in the morning. Even if it's playing computer games now without the guilt. Yeah, that's okay. I'm with that. Okay, that's number one, find your why. Number two, build a new routine. I've talked about it before, about structure and not having too much structure. So I think routine is maybe a better word than structure. You know, and I know, you know, people go, oh, I'm going to do absolutely nothing when I retire. But I think you do need some sort of routine, yeah? As humans, we sort of thrive on a bit of structure in life. It's just getting the balance right. As I said, I'm not talking about that 9 to 5 structure that we had. I mean, that is gone, good riddance, you know? But just a kind of a loose structure or a rhythm. It's about finding your rhythm. I talked about, you know, maybe establishing a structure. But what I found is that I'm finding a kind of rhythm that's sort of evolving organically. And it takes a little bit of time, and I still think it will evolve and it might change. But find that routine, as I said, whether you need more of that routine to kind of for your sense of well-being, or whether you want a kind of a loose, organic routine, find a routine and a sort of mini structure. It just helps, I think, in terms of your mental well-being. And, you know, when you have those days, as I've talked about before, where you sort of, days of doubt or lack of motivation, it's just something to hang on to and pull you back into the journey, keeping going forward. It just gives life a little bit of shape. As I said, it doesn't have to be a rigid shape, just a loose structure. And number three is stay socially connected. Yeah, suddenly all your workplace relationships, whether you like them or not, have gone. Yeah, they've disappeared. And you often find, and again, watching other YouTube channels talking about retirement, that, you know, your friends soon forget you, not in a mean kind of way, but they're still at work. Yeah, they've still got work things to talk about. I mean, you're not interested in work anymore, but they are. And most of their time and social relationships were in the office, and now you're not going there. So you kind of lose that. So it's important to find new connections. I mean, sure, if you've got, you know, your bestest mate and all that at kind of work, then sort of stay in touch and all of that. Whilst, you know, I'm definitely not a proponent of Facebook. I was hacked some time ago and I suddenly realised I don't really need it other than for signing in on things. So I no longer really exist on Facebook. But previously, yeah, it was a great way to stay, you know, in contact. Ironically enough, I often think, should I go back on Facebook now and just to stay connected with some old friends? Again, for me personally, the jury's out on that. But certainly some sort of social connectedness, whether it's, you know, joining volunteer groups, finding new friends. I mean, it's difficult when you're retired and your friends aren't, you know. My girlfriend, she still works. And, you know, so our leisure time together is at weekends. You know, we can't spend as much time doing what, you know, I want to do necessarily. You know, maybe go away for a longer period of time, have a long weekend somewhere, or rather than a long weekend, the beginning of the week, because she still works. And that's a balance you kind of need to find. I think that's always interesting if you both retire. The question is, will you get sick of each other, or do you find a new sort of love and passion for each other and a new shared sort of identity going forward? Again, I don't have that experience yet. Let me know. Oh, another footpath. Let me know in the comments down below. But definitely, as I said, I've had a few people contact me recently through my YouTube, some local people, some old friends. And yeah, I'm slowly building those old social, you know, contacts. Again, I'm quite a solitary person, to be honest. But one or two friends here and there I can pop out with, a bit human interaction beyond my son and stuff like that, and my girlfriend, is probably psychologically useful. And finally, fourth, did I say 4 things or 3 things? Yeah, fourth, mental and physical health. Absolutely paramount. Got to stay mentally healthy. As I said, you know, keep your brain stimulated, keep up those social contacts, all the things which are good for mental health. And then physical health, you know, keep exercising, go for walks. You know, if you're into cycling, I've got a bike in my shed. I haven't really been out. I just need to repair the tyre. I might go start doing some long cycle rides and stuff like that. Just stay healthy, because if you stay physically healthy, it's good for the mind. You'll help with the mental health. So again, yeah, number 4, definitely don't let yourself fall into a stupor, sitting watching the TV or whatever it is. Get out and about a bit. You've retired early, hopefully, to enjoy your go-go years. And even if you didn't plan to retire early and you just end up in this situation, try and maximise your go-go years. Enjoy them. You know, when life gives you lemons and all of that, if that's your situation, enjoy that lemonade. So yeah, there you go. As I said, even in my comments, there seems to be a mix of opinion about whether early retirement is a good thing or a bad thing. Not everyone thinks of early retirement as a sort of a golden dream, you know, something wonderful, paradise. For some, they just want to work all their life, yeah? They've got a work ethic and they just want to work all their life. If that's their thing, great, knock yourself out, enjoy yourself. Others are laser focused on the FIRE movement, yeah? I want to be financially independent, retire early. It's absolutely my goal. And I love that focus and that vision. Great. However you arrive at the beginning of your early retirement journey, remember that it can be a double-edged sword. Recognize it for what it is. It's a powerful tool, that sword. But like any powerful tool, you need to know how to handle it, or at least recognize the sharp bits. And for me, it's definitely the most important thing to take away is it's not about what am I retiring from, but absolutely you working out what am I retiring to. As I love to point out in these videos on a regular basis, that's because it's an important factor. What are you retiring to? It's about seeing this next chapter of your life not as an ending. Retirement is not an ending. As I said, you could be retired for longer than you worked. So in no way is it an ending. It is absolutely another chapter, an opportunity to be another chapter, a new, exciting beginning, perhaps, if you want it to be. And with the right mindset, I think, and certainly that's what I'm trying to get to, the right mindset, hopefully it could be the best adventure of your life because of all the knowledge and wisdom that you've learned through life. And now the freedom you have to make the choices, yeah? You're choosing what your why is. Nobody else. It's that freedom you've not had since maybe you were a kid, yeah? Where no one's really bossing you around. But now you've got the money, hopefully, to do it, the freedom, the experience, to make this perhaps the best adventure of your life. Who knows? Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you thinking about early retirement? Or are you in a situation where you don't have choice because of ill health or redundancy, as I said? Or have you embarked on early retirement already? What are your thoughts? How are you finding it and all of that? Put it in the comments down below. I read all the comments and I'm getting so many, it's taken me ages. But I just find it interesting the different perspectives that people have when it comes to retirement and especially early retirement. I'm surprised, as I said, I thought it'd be a no-brainer, but not everybody thinks the same and it's interesting. So yeah, share your experiences, put your comments in the comments down below. I'd really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this video, then hit the likes because I like it, YouTube likes it, and it helps people like you find content just like this. And if you're new to my channel, then do me the great honor, please, arigato gozaimasu, please hit that subscribe button, toggle the notification bell, and that way you'll know when I upload videos just like this. And talking of videos just like this, why don't you check out the videos here? See these ones here? Oh my goodness, you're gonna love them. Check these videos out. Thanks for watching.